Welcome to Taskforce Geek. My name is Dirk Cooper, and today I am joined by Shawn.
Hello.
And Scott.
Howdy.
And our guests, which is Joe and Megan Roberts.
Hello there.
Hello to all of you. Before we get started on this thing, we have a little bit of housekeeping to do. And that includes, let's talk a bit about Scott's adventures in Florida.
Oh, you want to know about my adventures?
If you tuned in to last week's episode, Scott was in Florida on the beach and was very happy and was showing us a lot of activity out there and was pretty happy, and then let us go on with the show. And then about 30 minutes later, he comes back and he has no glasses. So, Scott, I'll let you pick up from there.
Yeah, the ocean decided that I no longer needed to see for about 18 hours of my trip. And what I have on now is like some temporary glasses that luckily I have a buddy who works at my eye doctor who phoned in a favor over here in Florida, or over there in Florida, I should say. And I went to this place that was like iMart World or something like that. It was something out of a Weird Al Yankovic movie. And it took him about 4 hours, which is great because I was so blind. It really made me like consider like, man, I need to get LASIK surgery or something. But they refused to let me buy one pair of glasses. It was like I had to buy two pairs or none at all. And I was like, I don't need two pairs. I just need one. They're like, it's buy one, get one free. And I was like, how about I donate one to somebody else when they need it? Because I'd like to get these as fast as possible. Well, that's going to be, 4 hours for both pairs. And I said, how about 2 hours for one pair? And they refused. So I have two glasses that look just as bad as this one. But I got out for like $100. So, I mean, for a big time mistake of wearing glasses in the ocean, could have been worse fates, So I had a spare pair of glasses to wear back into the ocean the next night. And I'm glad I did. You say, why did you have glasses on in the ocean? Well, number one, the ocean is filthy and gross. It's 4 billion years of being a urinal, and we take a trip to go swim in it. It's gross.
Yeah.
The second night I was there,
and there are dangerous things that want to kill you.
Exactly. So the last night we were there with my new pair of glasses, and I had one to spare, I still wore them out. I was only a few feet into the ocean looking around, and there were stingrays all around us. And wow. I mean, like, you could see them clear as day, which was really kind of cool. But that made my kids go like, I ain't getting deep into that water. And then I walked out even further, and I was like, there's something darker in this area. And what happened is I walked in this area, and small stingrays fluttered about, like a whole cluster of them. And there was jellyfish in the water and everything else. My daughter got stung by a jellyfish.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
She was fine. She thought it was like, they were really small ones. I was trying to catch it in a bucket, but I didn't want to get stung. But she was just letting the water come up to her. And all of a sudden she goes, Dad, I feel something burning. And I was like, did you get stung by a jellyfish or something? And she looked, and you could see the track marks from like the tentacle. Mm-hmm. And she goes, it just stings. And I think I'm going to be okay. She's like, it's not like poisonous, is it? And I was like, no, you're going to be all right. And she's like, okay, cool. Take a picture so I can show everybody and brag. So
you got to take care of that social media.
So, yeah. So these are big, thick plastic glasses. They're about 2 inches deep or so because my eyes are so bad. And that's why you're never going to see my eyeballs today, because you're only going to see the reflection into the future.
And can I say that I appreciate you picking some glasses that look exactly like mine so that we look even more alike?
Well, the fact is these are the blue ones, and I have some dark black ones as well, or brown. They say they're brown. They look black to me. These were the things that fit my fat head that were 2 for $100.
All right.
I basically had 3 choices, and I picked these 2. So
all right.
Just, keep in mind the thick lenses mean that you can probably get shot in the eye, and it'll protect you.
That's good.
Speaking of my trip, if you're watching from Louisiana, you must have tons of rocks in your. I got 2 chips in my car driving through Louisiana on 2 separate occasions, both about 10 to 20 miles into the state. Chip. And I'm like, good Lord, this state's telling me never to come back. So,
I mean, don't worry. Louisiana will disappear in like 15 years. So no worries.
You think it's going back to the ocean?
I mean, we all are at some point,
Yeah,
right?
that's fair. Virginia's gone too. You guys have the good real estate.
Well, I know an area where my glasses are, so I'll go look there.
You can recover them. Wow. All right. Does anyone have any questions for Scott about his adventures in Florida?
Oh, I have so many questions, but I'm gonna let them go.
All right, fair enough.
Looks like your kids had a great time. So
They did. They never got to see the ocean or been through those states. So it was maybe a day or two too fast of a trip, but we got out of it what we wanted. They got mad at me because I made them wear masks everywhere. The beach area that we were at, though, there was not that many people. So we had no problem spreading out from people and stuff like that. So at least my trip to Florida, and I mean just barely into Florida, Pensacola only, I didn't think it was really that bad. I thought most people were being safe and stuff for the most part. So I can only go by my experience.
Walt wants to know if you can see him from where you're at or something. I guess he's saying that your glasses look like they're pretty strong.
Yeah, he's on his balcony down there in Dallas, and he's just watching, sipping a Mai Tai, and yeah, I see you, Walt.
Hanging with his dog.
Yeah.
Gary wants some Rob stories. Any Rob stories? Do we want to do that publicly or?
No, we're not going to do it.
Oh, that's good stuff. Well, look, I'm glad that Walt is watching because I have a little something to share with you guys.
All right.
What do you think about this right here?
Nice.
So how did that happen? Is that from a video game?
Because Walt's awesome.
It is from a video game. It's from Gran Turismo. And Walt did do this. Walt created, and Walt, please chime in. What kind of car is this? Because I never got that from you. Hello to Chloe.
See, got on there.
Right, he's got a lot of stuff on it. And he says that he's going to be doing some competing in that car. So, like, while he's competing, we are kind of semi, whatever, represented. Here we go.
Supra GR3.
He says it's a Supra GR3.
Nice.
It's pretty slick. I like that purple color on it. And,
purple and green, good combo.
That's pretty neat. That's our logo.
You did great, brother.
And then how about this?
Wow.
Yeah, that's sexy.
I'll have to get his comment off of there. And there you go. I have some footage too, but I couldn't put it all together in time. So anyway, I will attach the footage to the deal, but it's in action and it looks real. I mean, it looks like it's on ESPN or something. It's pretty cool.
A Toyota Supra. I'm thinking need to get a model and paint it up like that. That looks awesome.
Anyway, I thought that was super, super awesome, and thanks very much to Walt for doing that for us, and good luck on the circuit, right? We want him to do well out there. All right, guys, it's time to get it on. All of our stories or questions we're talking about tonight were shared on the Taskforce Geek Quora space. Join us on there to get a preview of what we could be talking about. The Taskforce Geek Quora space is right there. And if you want to be a guest on Taskforce Geek, I'll tell you how to do that at the end. We are broadcasting live on my Facebook account, which is right there. And our ridiculous YouTube channel, we still got 50 people. You got to follow us on there for it to say youtube.com/Taskforce Geek. Let's see. Our first thing up tonight is DC cutting ties with Diamond Comics, which is a huge deal. In a seismic shift for the comic book industry, DC Comics has cut ties with Diamond Comic distributors. The announcement was made via an email to retailers sent Friday morning, with the company telling customers that all orders for DC product will be fulfilled by Lunar Distribution and UCS Comic distributors for periodical releases and Penguin Random House for graphic novels and collected editions. And for our first comments on this, I'm going to go to Scott.
Hey, we knew about this a little while ago because of the virus that we cannot name on this this show. DC, why Marvel and all those people were taking a hiatus. DC said that they're going to get out their books and put them out. So we saw this coming. I see Ken's comment like death to Diamond, and I get why a lot of people probably are mad at Diamond because they have like a monopoly, but I really, really, really think this overall is going to really hurt some of the mom and pop comic stores, because what you don't realize is like they're still going to have to go through Diamond Comics to get their books and pay shipping. Now they have to go through these distributors and get their comics, and so they have to pay for shipping on those as well. So they can't combine shipping is what I'm trying to get at here. And I mean, those companies that DC's going through, like Midtown Comics, they already had like a service where you could get books from them really cheap. So their profit margins are just not going to be as high on DC books. And a lot of retailers are pretty pissed about this. I mean, a lot of them don't want to, from the articles I read, they really like to not carry books anymore just to kind of give it to DC, but they know they're going to have to be loyal to their customers and over time see how this goes. The other problem is you got two fresh companies. This is not like some company that's been doing this for 2 or 3 years. These companies have been around a couple months. So,
and it's Scott, it's Midtown and Discount Comic Book Distributor or Discount Comic Book Service that are like the pretend distribution companies.
That was you, Scott.
Oh, that was me?
Yeah, you said it's Midtown.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's, DC product will be fulfilled by Lunar Distribution and UCS Comic Distributors,
which are covers for Midtown and
okay, all right.
Discount Comic Books Service or something.
Some of the guys were saying on some articles I read, they said like now we're going into direct. We're buying from our competitors, so like before we were already competing against these guys.
They're comic stores.
We're trying to get the local guys who go to the comic version of Amazon basically, and now they're having to buy stuff from them. So
I've also heard from some retailers that it's going to be more expensive to ship through these people than it was through Diamond. Apparently they have some special method or something that they ship this stuff, and it's very nice, but it's also more expensive, and that's obviously something that comic book stores have to consider.
And that's what I said. I think it's going to hurt the small guys more than the big guys. But you have those mom and pop stores that every couple of weeks they're kind of like, hope we can keep the doors open, and then they have a good week of sales, and then they're like, hey, we're doing okay, and then something happens in the world and stuff slows down again. They're struggling. So yeah, I just don't overall think this is a good idea, but they don't care about me. So, and I know a lot of people hate Diamond from back in the day, from 25, 30 years ago when they were competing and they took the monopoly, and they do have a monopoly on it, but they're also streamlined and they know what they're doing. And whether we like it or not, they've been feeding comic shops for years. So,
Joe and Megan, I'm going to go to you two next.
So, I for a good 10 years of my life, I worked in a couple of different comic book shops, and despite the fact that Diamond was the only choice for getting comics, there was obviously some animosity. Right, they would ship things badly, or damage a bunch of books, and then it'd be like 3 weeks before you'd get the books in so you could fulfill your orders for your customers. But all the places that I've worked for, both of the owners have publicly come out condemning DC for their decision, right? That they're not really supporting the direct market in the way that they should. So I'm not in the comic book shops anymore. It seems like we have some more love for Diamond now that there is some competition, but as a guy that does a DC podcast, like, I don't want to support DC. I want to support my stores, but I also can't do a Batman podcast without reading Batman. So, it puts me in a bit of a tricky position. I might try to cut back on some of my DC books in solidarity, but I know Marvel tried something like this in the 90s. And
yes, they did.
Crashed and burned.
Yep, it didn't go so well. Shawn, let's hear from you, buddy.
My thing is, this is all going to be good for everybody. Everybody's going to complain. Everybody's going to have issues. It's something new. It's something that everybody has to adjust to. It's not going to stay this way. Things are going to continue to shift. I swear, I promise there's going to be some other distributor that's going to break ground, that's going to try to wriggle their way into and help streamline the system even more. This is going to do nothing but benefit the stores, the customers, everybody. This is going to be a great thing down the road. Today it sucks, but down the road it's going to benefit everybody. They just need to.
So you're saying the competition is good?
Competition is fantastic. There is nothing like competition, because all it's going to do is, again, it's going to take Diamond, and they're going to have to adjust things. DC, much like Marvel, I think is going to fall in the distribution aspect, trying to go at themselves. In the end, we'll have like 2 or 3 distributors, maybe 5-10 years down the road, and then everything is going to be not back to normal, but back to the new normal. And everybody's going to be happy, and they're going to be like, oh, why did we complain so much back in the day? Oh my gosh, this is so much better. Oh my gosh, I can get stuff so much easier. If I can't get it over here, I can get it over there. It's going to work itself out. You just have to let it get past this rough spell, and then let the waters calm. Right now, everything's just tumultuous. Just let it work itself out.
I guess what I'm more worried about is the short term from some of those stores that are already struggling. But
yeah, we're already.
I guess that is.
But see, even in that, if the store is struggling that badly, they had problems beyond Diamond. They had problems beyond DC spinning off on their own. They had a backlog of comics they couldn't sell because people weren't going into their stores and buying them. With the problems with Diamond, they weren't able to sell the books back. Right. They had to hold that stock. Diamond forced, as well, DC, Marvel, and a lot of the big guys forced them to buy certain numbers to the stores, which kept giving them a backlog of just the stock that they couldn't push. This is going to help everybody in the long run. Those stores that are having issues, those stores that are having problems, again, they had problems before. Maybe this will force them to reconfigure their store, reconfigure how they do their business, and in the end will help them out, give them higher profits, give them better customer service, make them even stronger, because we're taking these steps now.
Okay, good point.
So Gary says that Rob, our friend Robert Henry, told him that he thinks it's good for independent creators, comic creators, because Diamond was ridiculous trying to work with, and I'm sure that that's true.
Oh yeah.
See,
anytime they're probably more open to take books.
Anytime you take the big guys out of this, who were dominating the books, you had, like, I don't know how big the catalog is, say 300 pages. You probably had 100 pages dedicated to Marvel. You had 100 pages dedicated to DC through their books and through their merchandise. Now they're going to have to, well, we need space. We need people in here. They are going to start cutting deals. They are going to start bringing some more independents and some more individuals who maybe felt that they were forced to go to Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Now maybe this will offer them an opportunity to push their books, push their merchandise.
You know, we heard a rumor that DC Comics in general is kind of hurting, and because they are owned by AT&T now, and AT&T wants big dollars, they may be thinking about, and this has been a rumor for 5 or 6 months, that AT&T may be thinking about divesting DC Comics, holding on to the movie and whatever toy rights of the characters, but either stopping production on comic books or farming those books out to someone. What do you guys think about that? Do you think there's any chance of that? Is this the first step towards that, or what?
That seems, I mean, if you watch the Marvel Sony stuff, would that be a ridiculous move on their part? I mean, why would you give up all that stuff when you...
They're not giving up anything. What they're talking about doing is licensing out their comic books, their comic book characters, to be published by other vendors. The rumor that I had read, that I believe Dirk is talking about, is that there's a rumor going around that they may license the comic book publication of these characters, stories, artwork, so on and so forth, to IDW, who already has been working on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman comics. So they've already associated themselves with DC, and IDW is not doing real well as far as their publications go. So if they can make a deal with DC to license their characters, relieving DC of having to publish this stuff, then that's a win-win.
That is interesting, because I know IDW has some like Marvel kid books, and you're thinking, why does these Marvel kid books come out through IDW? And there's also some Star Wars books that, you know, Marvel and Disney own. So great point. I guess I didn't think of it that way. I still don't understand why IDW's doing that stuff, but I guess they can make so much money off the licensing fee off that.
Sure.
Have somebody else do it. That's all they care about. So,
yeah, I mean, I've questioned the leadership at DC for at least the last, 10 years.
Rightly so, yeah.
Right.
Well, I could say the same about Marvel.
Sure. So maybe having a different higher authority to answer to could open us up to more interesting storytelling. But then again, it could just be same leash, different company, right?
Sure, absolutely. And obviously all of this is rumor, and it came from the internet. So
yeah, take that for what it's worth.
We should 100% trust it.
Yeah, I mean, that's
if it's on the internet, yeah, it's true. It's golden.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we're talking about IDW, so now's a good time to move on to our next subject, which was brought to us by our guest. Collaborating with TMNT co-creator Kevin Eastman, writers Tom Waltz and Bobby Curnow and various artists created a new version of the Ninja Turtles that combined all the best aspects of the different eras into a cohesive and absorbing story. It's like the Turtles from the original comics, movies, video games, and TV shows all merged into one. While Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is split into smaller arcs like traditional comics, its overarching storyline has been meticulously planned and executed. It feels incredibly fluid, as if it's all part of one big design rather than jumbled up pieces trying to fit together on a monthly basis. Not only does it allow for intense character development for Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and Michelangelo, but it also provides a suitable platform for supporting characters such as Carrie, April O'Neil, and Casey Jones. And since this was brought to us by our guest, we're going to go to them first.
Well, this is all you, babe. You've been nothing but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles lately.
Yeah, that's true. So I had made it somewhere into like the 60s. Ninja Turtles is like now on 105, right? It's the longest running Ninja Turtle comic of ever. And I had at some point just gotten distracted by other things. So for the last like 2 weeks, I have read 50 Ninja Turtle comics.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm now completely caught up. I've moved through 3 years
He's
of
moved
ninja.
into a shell. He's carrying around weapons. It's very fun.
Yeah, I'm not very good at hiding in the shadows. It just doesn't work very well. And so I've just, I truthfully believe that this might be the best comic book series that I read.
Wow.
And the whole reason, like some of the description that you were saying, when you have the same creative team for 100 issues, you can feel, right? You can feel that the story is progressing in a linear manner. It's very character driven. So you're getting growth from all of the turtles. There's a bajillion side characters. Maybe the biggest complaint that someone could make is there's too many side characters, but that's like the best part, right? To see those goofy action figures from the 80s cartoons show up as like kind of scary, scary characters. Bebop and Rocksteady are brutal. So I cannot recommend this comic book enough. And it is with the return of being able to catch up, it's skyrocketed to my number one book for sure.
That's amazing. All right. Well, Shawn, I'm going to go to you next on this subject.
I haven't read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles since the Eastman Laird years. I picked up the first, was it 6 issues? First time at a comic book store. They were brand new at the time. No one had ever heard of anamorphic characters, or they weren't as popular at the very least. Yeah, I haven't read any of them since those days, since those very early Kevin Eastman days. But that did turn me on to his artwork and following his other ventures. I have to admit, I'm curious about this new series or this ongoing series. I've seen some of the artwork that has been released, and I like it. I'm very interested in it. And if you honestly believe that this is one of the best runs that they've had, then hey, I'm into it.
Whoop whoop.
Scott, what say you?
Paying me $0 to say any of this.
Well, I was frantically researching. I thought the Archie Comics Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series actually went longer than this series, but I stand corrected. Joe's right. At least from my quick wiki search, that this is the longest running TMT comic that's out there. What I find interesting is that Joe brought this up in conversations leading up to this episode, and over the last 3 to 4 years, I've heard nothing but good things from just people checking out at the comic store. They'll either buy a trade or buy the latest issue, and they talk about how solid this comic has been despite so many other comics getting rebooted and redone. And they've just, like Joe was saying, enjoyed the fact that it's consistently done well. We carry it. We carry the floppies, the individual issues at our shop at Wizards Asylum. So it's a constant seller. Now, we don't order 25 copies, but we order copies and they go off the shelf, and then we sell trades all the time. So it was very interesting that he brought this up, because even last Sunday I sold a trade. So it's just interesting that, like I said, I've been curious about this for like the last, I think it was like issue 25 or so. So that had to have been some years ago, but I've just never pulled the trigger on buying this comic, because I'm sure it's the same old stuff, and if you got into comics mid-'80s, if you were every child that got into comics and first found out about independent comics besides Marvel and DC stuff, you heard of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you saved up your $15 or $28 to go buy like the third printing of TMNT, number 4, and you were happy to have that because you wanted to see what the big hubbub was. And it was interesting and unique, but it was just okay. I mean, so I'm glad to see that this is getting so much fan favoriteness to it. And just tell me they don't eat pizza like crazy, Joe, and I'll give this a try.
Michelangelo talks about eating pizza all the time.
Okay, but it's not like the cartoon, right? I mean, you got to.
I mean, so I may not be the best person to ask about that because I really loved that they ate pizza all the time in the cartoon.
Okay.
I want to eat pizza all the time.
Well, I mean, we're probably age-wise just enough difference where like that wasn't really cool for me to like at the time. So like if I was just a few years younger, that would have really, locked onto me. So,
but they take the key tropes of the characters, right? What are Leonardo leads, Donatello does machines, Raphael is cool but rude, Michelangelo is the party dude.
And don't they have a female character? Like, don't they have a female character named like Jenica or something?
She's brand new.
Okay.
Like she right around issue 100 is when she became, I guess spoiler alert, the fifth turtle.
Awesome.
Wasn't it like a blood transfusion or something?
It was a blood transfusion that turned her into a turtle. So they don't know if it's permanent yet, but she's pretty awesome as a turtle.
Interesting.
But like they have Michelangelo is clearly the heart and soul of the team, like the one with the moral compass that never changes. Leonardo actually has like an interesting arc where he becomes Shredder's apprentice for a while.
Wow.
Raphael is still just an emotional rage monster, but they try to explore that it's because he's fragile that he's such a rage monster.
No, he's just a rage monster. There's no fragility to him.
And then Donatello is like working towards like trying to stop a future, a bad future, and just putting all of his resources into like doing everything to protect his family. So another sweet thing, all the crossovers, with the exception of the TMNT Batman, are part of continuity.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
So they teamed up with the Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. It's in continuity.
Wow.
That's really neat.
That's pretty cool.
It's cool.
I like that.
I'm just going to keep saying positive things.
All right, Joe. So which story arc or which issue for anybody out there or myself would you pick up for the first time for trade to like hook us in? Not like trade number one, but there's got to be something that really sticks out.
So my favorite arc by far, they even made a board game out of it. IDW Publishing made a board game version, is the story arc called City Fall. And that's, I think it's like the 12 issues leading up to issue 50. It's super intense. The stakes are very, very high. And that's where Leonardo becomes Shredder's apprentice. So I just think it was a really awesome storyline.
All right.
Cool.
That's awesome.
I read a lot of stuff from kind of the younger crowd and stuff in one place or another. And one of the things that I'm hearing from them is that they are kind of incensed or confused by all of the different worlds and storylines with characters like Batman or the X-Men, where, their storylines go back, 50, 60 years. And you don't know which one is continuity, and then you got the new 52, and then you don't have the new 52, and then it just goes on and on. There's 400 million number one issues. You have no idea what world you're in, and so a lot of the younger crowd really enjoy manga because it tells one complete story. If it's super long, it's still just one story. It's all contained. And then when it's over, it's over. And I think that what you're talking about with this run, which is now 100 issues, is that you're getting that. You're getting an American product that is done by the same creators, and they're paying attention to telling one cohesive story, and so that you can follow it from the beginning all the way till now, which is, hey, that's pretty exciting. I like that. And I think other people will like that too. I think will like the chance to jump on board a story and see something a little bit more substantial than a lot of the stuff that we get right now. And, maybe confusing to some people. Let's see, we got okay. I will wait on that comment. Our next segment is our guests, which if I could get that up there, hey, here it is. All right. So let me finally introduce the two of you. Megan Roberts is an IT product manager by day and a writer by night. She has recently published her first book, and if I say this wrong, it's Innsmouth, correct?
Yeah,
Innsmouth.
close enough. Yeah.
Innsmouth Beneath the Surface to Amazon as a digital release with intentions to move to paperback in the coming weeks. When she isn't furiously typing on her computer, Megan enjoys baking or finding weird things to watch on Netflix. That's interesting. Her introduction to nerddom came in the form of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, very popular, and has slowly grown over time to broader comic book collection with lots of help from her husband, Joe. And speaking of Joe, Joe is a chemistry professor. Shout out to all the chemistry professors out there with his fingers in a lot of nerdy pies. That sounds naughty. Joe's current focus is comic books, especially those of the DC variety. He currently co-hosts Wayne Manor Memoirs, a Batman research podcast with his buddy Kendall and frequent guest host and wife Megan. When he's not reading comics, he enjoys board games, role-playing games, and pretending that he'll one day finish painting a Blood Bowl team. another Blood Bowl player here. I don't have any specific questions, but I will throw it to the crowd to ask you guys about your projects.
Joe, when did you start your? I know the answer, but I have to ask this. When did you start your podcast?
So we're almost done with the second year of the podcast. So I think that it was like May of 2018.
Yeah, it was before we had our kiddo. So
yeah.
And she's about to turn 2 in August. So it's
so almost 2 years.
Okay, so for those of us who don't know, tell us a little bit about what the podcast is about and how many episodes you have of it.
55.
That's a great. There you go. Nice.
Wow, there we go.
Thanks, because I didn't know.
Some of us have to do our homework, right?
Bringing up the quality of the show, right? So the whole idea, I'm a really big fan of Batman 66. And in general, Golden Age Hollywood, which has nothing to do with Batman, really. And all the podcasts that I could find about Batman 66, and there are some really good ones, all they did was go through each of the episodes and, critique the episode, talk about highlights, etc. And what I was really more interested in is who are the people playing these characters, and what other stuff have they done, so that if I really like, Cesar Romero Joker, where do I get more Cesar Romero? And it kind of spun out of control from there. And so what I ultimately ended up doing is there's a lot of stuff about Batman that I don't know and didn't really have the motivation to go figure out. So now we pick a topic every 2 weeks and we go in and do some research about that topic, whether it's reading the first appearance or the first several appearances, or in some of the cases of the garbage villains that we cover all of their appearances, and try to figure out why these things were important to the Bat mythos. Can they be salvaged if they're real bad? And, give our recommendation as to whether you should go look these things up for yourself.
Right.
And it's much beyond just like the 60s show. I mean, you guys really kind of look at the whole of Batman as a piece and sort of understand how things fit into the different eras and maybe how it can be modernized and, different aspects that aren't really just limited to one specific genre of what Batman is, which I think kind of gives it a really cool, higher view of what Batman means to different people.
And yeah. Kendall hates Batman 66. So,
that is awesome.
So I love.
You've got a skeptic on the show.
Yeah, I love making him watch it, but he also forces me to do other things that I also hate, like Batman Metal.
Well, I agree with that. I noticed you do skip around quite a bit, and I mean that like in a good way, because you give us the whole everything Batman. I really like the episodes of The Brave and the Bold that you guys talk about. You watch some episodes, you talk about them. I love that when that show came out. I loved how, like, you know, every episode would have some cameo of somebody you've never seen before, or you knew because you read the comics, and then they were out of it and they went on to the adventure. So you guys do a really good job, Joe. And I know I haven't seen you on the local Blood Bowl scene lately because you moved away. But I tell you what, listening to your episodes, it makes me really want to, like, get better on my podcast.
Which is funny because yours is one of the very first podcasts that I ever listened to. So you might have given me the bug.
Well, that's all right. I mean, that's how competition's good, right? We help each other out. We thrive here. But I just wanted to say, like, you guys do a really good job, and you should be very proud of it. And if those people aren't out there who have tried your podcast yet, they really need to get out there. And I haven't listened to every episode because, you know,
you don't have to.
Well, and back in the day, I used to have a job where I could listen to 4 or 5 podcasts a day, and now I don't. So it's kind of hard to even catch up on a lot of the subjects I love, you know. So, but you guys do a really fantastic job. You and Kendall do. So keep up the good work on that.
Hey, I appreciate that. We do a lot of this into a vacuum, so it's really nice to hear that people who are listening enjoy what they're hearing.
Yeah,
listening to me as positive feedback. I'm
She's
just white
biased
noise right now.
and it's funny, us people who do a podcast, all we thrive for is just somebody to say anything back, like your episode sucks, right, or it's awesome, and then yet we don't do the same thing to our fellow friends and people and things true, we like. So. I mean, we're all kind of
lazy. Point. It's a good point. Be the change you want to see.
So, can I derail from Joe to Megan? My experience with Megan is like, I believe when I met her just briefly at a Big O Chaos Cup tournament up in Blood Bowl, of course, in Chicago, and she was just there on the side. She was Joe's wife. Nobody wanted to talk to her because we didn't want her to not allow Joe to come to any more events after she's like, who are these crazy, weird perverts and everything else? And I believe at the time, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, in my head you were like Barry Allen. You were solving crimes for the detectives or something like that.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I was the Flash in my daytime job.
It was something similar, though, right?
Yeah, I was. Okay. Yeah, I was working with the Kansas Bureau of Investigation.
Right.
Doing some project management stuff.
Well, to me, you were like Lady Barry Allen, and don't talk to her, or she'll never, ever, ever let Joe come around you. And then,
and yet we've let you stay at our house.
Wow!
Well, I've got to hold your baby, you know. So
that's also true.
So yeah, really cool stuff. So I think it's really, I guess my point to all this is like, not, you know how like you put somebody in a box without knowing them, you just know small little things and you put them in the box. I'm really bad about that. So when I heard that you wrote a book, it just blew my mind. Not like you're stupid. It just blew my mind because I don't know anything about you. So I didn't know that you had like this love for Cthulhu and stuff. So tell us more about that.
Sure. Yeah. So actually, this book kind of came about in a really strange way. So I had also done a podcast for a little while. It was a Choose Your Own Adventure podcast.
Awesome.
It was nice. Yeah, it was very silly. It was actually inspired by the Blood Bowl podcast. I think you guys did an episode that was kind of like that.
3 Die Block did their
they did. That is awesome.
Yeah, so I was like, that's such a great idea. I hadn't seen anything like that. So for about 2 years or so, I had done a Choose Your Own Adventure version of podcasting. And one of the adventures was a Cthulhu-based teen drama style storyline, which was called Innsmouth. And it actually kind of drew a little bit of inspiration from Monster Heart, which is a role-playing game that basically uses Buffy. As a format, right? So it's individual episodes where these teens are kind of being angsty with one another over teen things, but also all this weird mystical stuff is also happening in the background. And it just amplifies all of the angsty teenness. So I had done an episode for the podcast. This is a really long.
I love that it amplifies the angsty teenness.
So I had done an episode for the podcast with Innsmouth, and it got a really good reception. Some of our friends in Chicago from they were doing a Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
the Sunnydale Stacks
podcast. They're now moved on to some other projects, but they guest starred for that episode. It got really good reception. I was really excited about the story. So I decided to take that concept and actually flesh it out further, originally designing it to be kind of an ongoing podcast in itself. And then sort of realizing that there was a much bigger story to play with. So it just grew into this book that is now out there and people are reading it, which is also kind of crazy. So so now I've got this book. It's right now expected to be one of 3.
Wow.
So that's maybe a little ambitious, but
we have plots for 3.
We have enough plot for 3 books, which is kind of the biggest piece.
No, dream big on that stuff, guys. I mean,
so yeah.
As a writer, I want to ask, what's your process like? How long do you write, and are you just, what kind of program are you using, and that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I'm really just the kind of person that likes to just sit down and go right at it. And I think Joe has been really helpful in helping me take a step back and actually plan things out a little bit. So
I'm like the dungeon master for the book. And then that's it. That's what I do. I'm like, why would we do this? And then Megan fixes all the problems.
So it really kind of started out, as I said, intending to be podcast episodes. So I had sort of an outline of what the book would be based on what different episodes of the podcast would have looked like, which is really kind of dialogue heavy. So I did have to go in and kind of work through how I would do descriptors and setting scenes and all that kind of stuff. But that was actually probably the biggest help, was just getting sort of that framework written down, and then kind of building it out from there. So now that I'm kind of working on the second book, I don't have that right now. So instead I've kind of moved to sort of some brainstorming sessions with Joe, where I sort of identify what are the key scenes that I want to have happen. And then I try to figure out what are the connecting pieces that get me from points A, B to C. So that it kind of flows in a cohesive manner. So it's not just sort of me random thinking onto a page. Yeah.
What did you learn from publishing on Kindle?
Anybody can do it. There's really not a huge process, which is good and bad, right? I mean, I appreciate that I was able to kind of get my work out there. I had tried the more traditional route where I sent out some letters to different agents, literary agents, for representation, because nobody's going to read your book if you don't have representation. And it's this whole process. And that also, kind of like podcasting, feels like you're just sending things out into nothingness. And for the most part, I didn't really hear a whole lot. I got a couple of thank you, but no thank yous. And it just sort of got to a point where I was like, I don't necessarily need somebody to also believe in my book, because I believe in it enough on my own. So I was totally fine with using the Kindle route. And Amazon has a whole process to do the printing version as well. So, So I think it's a good alternative for people that are just interested in having something out and available. And I don't intend on making a living out of it. I just enjoy doing it. So
and just for reference, our daughter is about to be 2 years old, and Megan finished the first book like a week before she was born.
Oh, wow.
So we've had the book. I'm taking credit for things that aren't mine. She's had the book done for a long time. And, after kind of a year or maybe like a half a year of trying to get representation, she was like, I'm just ready to have this be available so that, because people knew that she was writing it. They wanted to know more, so why not?
I think it's incredible, because while I can draw okay, I don't understand how people can sit and just write. And I can barely speak, let alone write a whole bunch. So I'm thoroughly impressed, and I think this is really awesome, and I hope you keep doing more books.
Thank you. I've noticed that as I'm writing, I kind of see it as a movie kind of playing out in my head, so it makes it easy to just sort of transcribe what I'm already seeing happening. And then I sort of look back and I'm like, wow, it seemed bigger in my head, and now it's only 2 sentences long.
See, if we would have known all these things at those Blood Bowl tournaments, that you were into all this stuff, we would have just hounded you like crazy. So,
and then I wouldn't have been allowed to go to any more Blood Bowl tournaments.
There you go.
That's right.
Does anyone have any other questions for either Joe or me?
Yeah, I got one for Joe. Have you read The Killing Joke?
I have.
Okay. Is the end? I know this is going to be like some weird tangent. I love the last few pages of Killing Joke so much, with Batman and Joker, and the Joker telling him the joke about the people escaping the insane asylum. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, absolutely.
Okay. So if anybody's out there, I love finding people that like really connect with that as much as I do. That is one of my favorite Batman Joker moments, like in any published book that I've ever read. So I just had to relate and see if you loved it as much as me.
Well, have you heard the fan theory that in that scene, because that book was never supposed to be part of continuity,
right?
But in that scene, Batman kills the Joker.
No, I have not heard this.
Yeah, there's this fan theory that like they have their laugh together, right?
And then kills him?
And then Batman just kills him.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? He deserved it more than any other time, maybe, right there. I mean, like, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, he certainly earned it in that book.
Yeah. We discuss all the time that despite the fact that the Joker is a very popular villain and a very compelling antagonist, his body count is often way too high for him to still be alive.
We have a friend named Steve Eckert, so I have to give him credit for this. He says Batman's whole deal is to go capture the villains and then put them in Arkham, who's funded by Wayne Enterprises or whatever. And like, he's just funneling money to himself.
He's getting kickbacks.
Did you
on everything? He says Gotham's greatest villain is the Batman because he doesn't solve anything.
Have you read Batman White Knight by Sean Murphy?
I heard it's amazing. I have not read it.
It is that premise.
Is it really?
It is. And it's so good.
What if Batman is actually the bad guy?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
The art is beautiful. I know that.
Oh, Sean Murphy.
I'm writing that down right now. I got to check into that.
And so I'll make another hot take on your show. That is, without a doubt, the best Batman comic I've ever read.
Really?
Wow.
Batman White Knight has displaced everything.
Wow.
And that Sean spells it S-E-A-N.
S-E-A-N.
Right? Yeah, S-E-A-N. Yeah. So.
Unlike our Sean.
I'm phonetic.
Okay, I have another question for Joe, and that is, what do you think about Robert Pattinson being the new Batman?
So this is a thing. Whenever we get a new Batman, I don't think about it. I'm just gonna, when the movie comes out, I'm gonna go see the movie, and I'm gonna judge it based on what I see on film. So he wouldn't have been my first pick, but that's okay. For a long time, I thought Val Kilmer was a good Batman.
Right?
Didn't we all?
So I'm also, and I'm avoiding all the trailers, all the shots from the set, everything. I just want to go in as cold as possible and just enjoy it.
Is it safe to say that Adam West is your favorite Batman?
Absolutely.
All right.
Interesting.
I can't
Although Diedrich Bader is a very close second now.
Wow.
What is he
brave.
from?
That's the Brave and the Bold.
Oh, Brave and the
He did
Bold.
the
And-
Brave and Bold.
And he's also the Batman in the Harley Quinn cartoon.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that. That's
Yep.
cool. Ken wants to know if anyone thought Ledger would make such a good Joker. He took a lot of heat. When they said they were going to get him in that role, a lot of people were like, he's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
10 things
Well,
I hate about you.
Yeah, I was gonna say he'd always been kind of the pretty boy for a lot of different roles. So
And people couldn't imagine a Joker other than Nicholson.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That's a good point. That's an excellent point.
Even though they all forget Cesar Romero.
I have to admit, when I saw the Wizard cover where they announced Heath Ledger's the Joker, I was like, you got to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. And yeah, I was disappointed. I'm not even going to lie. But at the same time, I was open. I'd followed a lot of Heath Ledger's other movies, and I'd enjoyed him. So, how bad could he be? I liked the look that he had created with the worn makeup and the scars and everything. I was really interesting to see what he could do. I in a previous episode we had discussed Ledger a bit about him being Joker and being one of the better that I think has been on film. No one ever mentioned Cesar Romero, and that's sad, because even though every incarnation of the Joker has been very different, my least favorite would have been Jack Nicholson, because he seemed like a caricature of Cesar Romero.
Yeah.
And
he didn't have the mustache covered with white makeup.
But Cesar Romero's Joker was unique when he created that. And that's what made that one so special. Whenever Jack Nicholson did it, it was a caricature of Cesar Romero's Joker. So to me, Jack was just playing Jack Nicholson from every other movie that he's played. So he never really did anything for me. Romero, Ledger, and of course, one of my absolute favorites, the last one, whose name escapes me suddenly. Who was the last one?
Joaquin Phoenix?
No, not that one.
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto. Thank you very much. It's been a long day.
Sean's getting old.
Leto is still probably one of my favorite depictions of the Joker, but yeah, I do appreciate the Romero years.
What do you think about Robert Pattinson? Since I have you on the screen here,
I have yet to be a fan of anything that Pattinson has done.
Amy's helping us out. She's just a second too late.
Thank you, Amy. I'm not a big fan of his. I'm not saying that he's a bad actor or anything. He hasn't impressed me as an actor. I think the cast that is surrounding him in this upcoming movie is going to be much more of a draw than Pattinson.
Yeah, they got a great cast. You're right on that.
I'm hopeful that, much like the Tim Burton stuff, Tim Burton was always obsessed with the Rogues Gallery as opposed to Batman, so he didn't get his due justice. And my only concern is that the same thing is going to happen here, where the focus is not going to be on Batman, but it's going to be on all of the villains that he's facing.
Scott, what do you think about Pattinson or whatever, anything we've been talking about?
I just want to know, because I've heard the answer before, why did Cesar Romero not just shave off his mustache?
Because he was typically cast in roles as a Latin lover, and he was concerned that if he shaved off his trademark
that was
Latin
his gimmick
mustache. Yeah,
Okay.
it was his
Wow.
gimmick. Absolutely. That was what made he believed it was part of his career.
Wow.
I'm sure once he was cast, he said, "I'm Cesar friggin' Romero."
I'm sure he did
Coming
too.
off.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say, is he must have had a lot of pull for them to say, okay, we'll still take you,
Yeah.
even with the mustache and stuff. As for Pattinson,
He was great, by the way. I mean,
Oh, he was.
Until the third season. Until the third season is terrible for Joker.
I don't think that's his fault, though.
It isn't.
as for Robert Pattinson, I'll just watch it when it comes out and judge it then.
I have to say that I'm kind of the same way. I think all of this kind of armchair quarterbacking on this movie stuff is kind of misplaced. If you remember, Ben Affleck took a lot of heat on being Batman, and the last time that we had this question and talked about who our favorite was, I think we universally agreed that we liked him. So
I mean,
Still my favorite.
Kendall is adamantly a fan of Batfleck.
Yeah.
And it's a topic that we debate at length.
I think the more and more I see of Ben Affleck, because it's always on reruns, it's like, oh my gosh, I think I do like him the best. You know,
There are rumors going around right now that with the Snyder cut of Justice League, that this might influence the studio to, prod Ben Affleck to reprise the role in another Batman movie.
that'd be cool.
That's
I would like
interesting.
them to start just doing one-off movies, though. Like, we don't need 3.
That's their plan right now.
But just give me one.
That's exactly
good
what they're doing,
story. They are doing that?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get another Wonder Woman film and stuff, but I mean, Joker was a one-off. We might get another Shazam, but I mean, they're basically taking these one at a time now, and they may or may not be connected. I mean, the DCEU is dead; it's done. So they might connect it in. I mean, like Superman showed up I'm going to spoil something. I'll go back on that. But anyway, there's been a little bit of crossover or some mention of some of those characters. But I mean, I think that they're taking them one at a time now.
I would love to see an Elseworld movie franchise, like actual live action movie
I'd like
franchise.
that too. A
Because
lot.
we don't need to see
Gotham by
Joker's
Gaslight.
origin. We don't need to see Batman's origin over and over again. But so give us different alternate timelines. I think that would work for at least a while. Then
I think so too.
You have the perfect excuse to recast everybody.
Jeree wants to know who's in the new movie, and nothing is coming to my mind.
Colin Farrell is playing the Penguin,
Right?
and which in and of itself is
Pretty cool.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
God, you want to talk about an actor? I have to stop what I'm doing to watch
Ooh,
what he's
Sean's got a
producing.
man crush.
Dude, you have no idea. When I In Bruges with him, I said to myself, this man needs an Oscar. This man needs to be recognized for his talent. And if you the latest movie that I've seen him in was The Gentleman. Fantastic. His character, just his character. I mean, the entire cast was fantastic. The movie was fantastic, but his character in that. The thing about me is, whenever you're looking at an actor, if you can forget that actor is playing this part, if you get lost in the character that they're playing, for example, Heath Ledger, you're not watching Heath Ledger.
Exactly.
You're watching the Joker. Anytime an actor can do that, for me, you're a god. There are so many actors, and as much as I love the man, Jason Statham, he's Jason Statham in every movie that he plays.
That's true.
Right.
Again, my apologies, John Wayne, he is John Wayne in every single movie that he plays.
Yep.
Megan has a hot take on that.
He
On John
tried
Wayne?
No, on actors that only play themselves.
John Wayne tried to
I need to hear
do
this.
something different, but the studio said, stop it. We want John Wayne. Even though you're playing an Asian, we want John Wayne. Jason Statham, he has no reason to change his formula. So he's Jason Statham. A lot of actors, they just play themselves doing something different.
Why do you think that, Megan? I want to hear your theory.
Oh no, I don't have a theory. Joe's making fun of me because I said that Harrison Ford was kind of like that for a little while.
There you
Harrison
go.
Ford,
That's
he
true.
is Harrison
Look at
Ford
this, a whole
in every single thing.
show of people that agree with you.
And
I was
that's,
very upset with me.
there's nothing wrong with that. There's some actors that they play themselves fantastically, and by God, let those people do what they do. But then there are other actors who completely become the character that they're playing. Mentioning actors that play themselves, you look at like Bruce Willis, for example. Big Bruce Willis fan. There is no other actor that could play in Die Hard, that could play his part in Die Hard. You can't do it. You can't do it. That's his movie. And if you tried to remake the movie or recast the movie, it would completely fail because that is Bruce Willis's part. He made it his part. That is his franchise. Stallone, you look at the Rambo movies. Even if you wanted to reboot that, it's not going to work because that's a Stallone franchise. Another actor that can't act his way out of a paper bag. Great writer, great director. His acting,
Yeah, I've heard that his director stuff is actually quite good.
Oh, he's a fantastic director. He's got a great visual on what needs to happen. One of my favorite actors, Clint Eastwood. Sorry, Clint Eastwood is Clint Eastwood in everything that he plays, and I love him for it. But yeah, the actors that become their characters. Colin Farrell. Getting back to Colin Farrell, he's an amazing actor, and I can't wait to see what he does with the Penguin and how he characterizes that in this upcoming movie. Yeah, Schwarzenegger can't act his way out of a paper bag.
Okay, Jerry asked about the cast. The cast for the new Batman movie, which is called The Batman, is Robert Pattinson as Batman, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, Paul Dano as the Riddler, Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon, John Turturro as Carmine Falcone, Peter Sarsgaard as Gotham's district attorney. His name is Gil Coulson. Jamie Lawson as Bella Real. Andy Serkis is going to be Alfred Pennyworth. That's pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
And Colin Farrell as the Penguin, as Sean said. So not a bad lineup there. And I think that the director has a unique take. I mean, I'll tell you one thing that I have complained about a lot is that Batman comes from Detective Comics, but he's never a detective in these movies or on television. He never does any sort of detective work whatsoever. And this director says specifically that he's going to concentrate on Batman as a detective. And that's kind of a neat little take, and I like that. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Maybe a non-action movie, maybe more of a suspense murder mystery sort of deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The best Batman detective thing I've ever read was, I can't remember the name of the book, but it was a Batman book by Andrew Box. It was
he wrote some books for a while, and then some comics also.
It was really a book about Bruce Wayne being a detective instead of Batman. And if you have not read that book, look that one up.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Be good for it's a fairly quick read, if I can say that, because I'm not a quick reader, but I'll find the link and send it to you. It's really good stuff, and it deals with like Bruce Wayne going into like child pornography rings and stuff like that, and busting the real bad guys of the world, and it's really good. So
cool. All right, I'm going to move on to our next subject, which is The Punisher. Scores of Marvel fans were hoping that they hadn't seen the last of John Bernthal's Punisher following his outings in the comic book giant's Netflix shows, and thankfully, based on recent reports, it seems that it's a case of when rather than if he'll return to the role. In fact, we've just gotten wind. This is, We Got This Covered, who says, we just gotten wind of where he might show up next. According to our sources, the same ones who told us that Disney were developing live-action remakes of their animated classics Bambi and Robin Hood well before either was officially announced, and that a She-Hulk show is in the works for Disney+, the trigger-happy anti-hero will make his MCU debut in the upcoming Moon Knight TV series. And for that subject, I'm going to Sean.
I want to take back my earlier statement. If they want to do a Die Hard with John Bernthal, I'm all in. That would be phenomenal. But I digress. John Bernthal, he really kind of made his way with The Walking Dead as Shane, and then of course becoming the Punisher. You think to yourself, who all's been the Punisher? You had Dolph Lundgren, you had Thomas Jane, and you're like, who can they get to actually play? John Bernthal was the Punisher, so for them to continue with his character, with his place as that character, I'm all for it. I think that's fantastic news, and if it is true, and
right, could be a rumor.
If that is the case, I hope that they continue on with either Punisher film or maybe more episodes of the Punisher moving forward. I hope that also opens up the door to the Daredevil cast, and maybe the Luke Cage and Iron Fist too.
Right. Joe and Megan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Punisher show was really solid. The casting was so good. The stories were really solid. I remember watching the Thomas Jane movie, and it was okay. I appreciated what it was trying to get to, and I thought there was some interesting stuff there. But yeah, I mean, I just think that the most recent casting was so spot on. He was so good. And I was really sad that there wasn't going to be more of him around, to be honest. But
yeah,
so I'm excited. I hope it's true. I'd love to see more from him. I think he's great.
I really liked him in Daredevil. When he got his own series, I just kind of felt like maybe it was a little bit too slow. And, the buildup was taking a long time to get anywhere. But I don't think that's his fault, right? I think that he's a really great Punisher. I would be very happy to have him come back. And truthfully, all of the Netflix shows, I would be happy to have all of them continue. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I love Iron Fist. Iron Fist and Power Man have a super special place in my heart as the first comic book I ever read.
Man, I agree.
And I thought the Luke Cage show was maybe not amazing, but it was good.
Yeah.
And the first season of Iron Fist, he's such a whiny weenie.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get any better in Defenders. So
right.
I think it'd be okay if they wanted to do something different with Iron Fist, but like the rest of them, Jessica Jones was awesome.
I think the showrunner of the Iron Fist, he had an issue because everything moved fine up until about halfway through the season. And then it's like, all right, I got no idea where to go from here. So they just kind of did some stuff to finish out the season. It didn't feel like they had a complete idea for the full season.
What's the point of an Iron Fist who can't use his Iron Fist? He had fist-style dysfunction.
Yeah. It's frustrating.
It sort of felt like the writers for Iron Fist just didn't really know what to do with him as a character. So they couldn't decide like what lane they wanted him to go through and like what they wanted to say with his development. And it just, I don't know. It was like he was like 5 years old one minute and then like sensei of 100 years old and next. I was like, he can't be both, guys. He's got to be one or the other, and you got to decide what you're doing with him.
I haven't seen Iron Fist, but it's kind of sad to hear you guys say that because there's been so many good Iron Fist comics out in the last 15 years. They're not mainstream characters, so they only go 20 issues or 25, or then get rebooted for 12 more issues and stuff. But man, there's been some really good Iron Fist comics that just make you love that character. So I'm sad to hear that the show sucks so bad.
I heard that the second season is substantially better than the first. Like he actually puts on the mask and stuff, but I haven't gotten around to watching it yet.
I mean, all the crazy mystical kung fu stuff is what makes Iron Fist so awesome, and having the Iron Fist,
and punching through walls.
Exactly. As for the Punisher stuff, I think it would be great to cast the same actor. I have
John
not
Bernthal.
watched it. Yeah, John Bernthal. I think he was perfectly cast for it. I just haven't seen it. I didn't watch Daredevil season 2, so I have no real. I know. I don't watch a lot of TV, so I have no real reference for this. Except I thought the casting was great when I heard about it years ago, and I was excited to see the show, and then I didn't watch it. So I am excited to hear this Moon Knight stuff. I mean, there's some great Moon Knight stories out there too. If they just let them take a chance and do some of the crazy stuff with Moon Knight. So, anyways,
it's funny that you mentioned the Punisher showing up in, I don't remember who said it, Punisher showing up in the Daredevil series, but the dynamic between the Punisher and Karen Page is perhaps my favorite part of the entire Daredevil series.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was really interesting.
We were gonna write a sitcom called Castle and Page.
That was also
that was the Choose Your Own Adventure one. Yeah, we did a sitcom called Castle and Page. We had a theme song and everything.
Nice. Disney already took your idea. They're doing it now. I mean, you spoke too much. It's for the teenage audience, though. It's when they're
there. We go. It's a super young, very very emotional Punisher.
Right.
Well, then it'll work great on Disney Plus.
Exactly.
Thanks, Ken. I'm glad I got Punisher canceled.
Let's take this first. Oh, that's not it. Walt says that he'd like a Heroes for Hire show. Man, I would love to see that
right
too.
there.
I wanted that so
Let's
bad. I have no idea why that didn't happen. I used to pick up that comic, and I mean, it's funny because we're finally getting into like what I call the C-level heroes, or D or E level heroes like Moon Knight. And like, back in the 80s, I liked kind of the people who were off the grid a little bit, like Moon Knight or Star-Lord, who ended up being kind of a big deal, but certainly wasn't back in the 80s. And also
90s.
also Power Man and Iron Fist and that sort of stuff. I was really attracted to those sorts of characters. So I really like the Netflix series quite a bit. John Bernthal is an amazing Punisher. I don't know if you could ever replace that guy. I want to believe this rumor very badly, but I also think that there's about a 50-50 chance that Disney's going to want to do it their own way and reboot the whole thing. And, maybe not show it on, if you don't put them on Disney Plus, you can make them a little bit more adult. So maybe move them over to Hulu or something. So I don't know if I believe this rumor entirely. I would be perfectly fine if it was true. If it's not true, then I do hope that we get, I hope that we get these characters back. And if not, I hope that they at least don't forget, Daredevil and Iron Fist and Power Man and Jessica Jones and the Punisher, because those are great characters. And I think they function really well in kind of that street level world and would function pretty well with Moon Knight. So, I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on that sort of thing. Let's see. He said Heroes for Hire. Jennifer says that continue all the Netflix shows and more Jessica Jones. That first season of Jessica Jones was so good.
Oh, so good.
David Tennant playing, what's his name? The Purple Man or whatever.
Yeah, Killmonger. No, not Kilgore. Kilgrave. Kill Man.
There's definitely some
Purple Man in the comics. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that was such a good series. So yeah, I would definitely like to see that. Scott, you can get on our Netflix and catch up on them.
Well, that might happen.
Trying to get you caught up.
That might happen if I ever get bored enough tinkering around and wasting time in my own ways. I just cut the cord yesterday, so it feels weird not having cable for the first time in my life. But I'm sure I will like it once I have it. Really, the only thing I watch anyways is the endless Futurama reruns and Family Guy, Cleveland Show, and American Dad over and over again. So I don't really watch regular TV anyway, so.
Shawn is talking about Disney reboots or takeovers. He's against that.
See,
It is
And-
kind of hard to
That's a bad
imagine
idea.
Disney doing a good Punisher show. Like it just doesn't fit in the wheelhouse of what Disney makes.
It's not gonna be, it won't be as bloody as the Netflix series, but they could still keep the overall feel of the Punisher show without making it quite so graphic. And I think it would play fine on Disney Plus.
Walt mentioned something that I was actually going to mention. He scooped me. They have said that there's a hiatus on all of these characters, and it's about 2 years from the last time that they were published or presented on Netflix. And Daredevil goes back to Marvel in 6 months. So we're gonna see if there's some movement on all of that soon. We know what the next phase of Marvel is, so we're going to have to get past that. But that doesn't mean those characters can't show up
Even
in
though
some of the series we already have.
even though I know the actor has said that there was a rumor that Daredevil was going to show up in the Spider-Man movie, and the actor said that excuse me, that he is not going to be in the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, they were saying that Matt Murdock was going to represent
Right.
Peter Parker because he had his identity revealed,
Right. And
and
something
we know who
tells-
Matt Murdock is. So
something tells me not to totally believe that. I think that might be a swerve. So I'm still keeping I'm still keeping my thoughts pure and my hopes alive, please.
Sean Murphy wants Ahsoka Punisher. That's a crossover for you.
Yeah, no, it's not gonna happen.
They're both in Marvel. They're both for Disney. Let's do it.
Right.
There might be an Elseworld with that. I mean, it's possible.
Walt's also bringing up that Civil War wasn't the original title of Captain America 3. Yeah, they like to swerve us a lot, which is fine. I like to be surprised with stuff too, so that's cool.
Let's not forget that how much of the original what was it, Infinity War trailer was completely shot just for the trailer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
None of it
yeah,
appeared
things
in the
that
film.
were in that were not
None
in the
of
movie.
None of it was cut. None of it was. It was all a
For
swerve.
example, they had the Hulk
Or-
running in that scene in Wakanda,
There were several characters that
and Hulk did
were
not show
in
up.
that movie. So yeah, I'm not fully believing. I'm going to stay positive.
I like that attitude.
Hey, you got to stay positive. I mean, come on.
All right, we're doing pretty good on time, so I'm going to do an audible here and talk about Event Horizon gets a new Blu-ray. Scream Factory has announced today that Paul W.S. Anderson's fan favorite 1997 space horror flick Event Horizon is coming to collector's edition Blu-ray this coming fall. The upgraded and definitive Blu-ray release is set to arrive on September 29th. New extras are in progress and will be announced on a later date. Scream Factory adds, quote, "We can confirm today that we are doing a new 4K scan of the film. As for any much inquired about additional footage, in addition to what's been presented on prior releases, we are looking into it the best we can. We welcome any leads you may have alongside our efforts," unquote. I'm just going to throw this to the group. Does anyone want to talk about Event Horizon?
It's on the list of movies I want to watch.
All right, fair enough.
You've not seen it?
He's
I have
younger
not.
than us, Sean. He was
I did go to an Event Horizon themed Blood Bowl tournament, and I won the
Wow.
Jack Noseworthy Award.
Interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Sean, you want to take this?
From what I understand, what I've read over the years, Paul Anderson, who by the way is not one of my favorite directors, he's a great idea man. He doesn't know what to do with those ideas once he gets them. He he has said that there was a lot of very interesting things that was shot, that was filmed for this movie, but eventually was cut from the final to get their rating and whatnot. He has stated that the studio basically trashed all that footage. There's nothing. There's literally nothing. There have been fans, begging for an Anderson cut and for him to, try to reinsert that material. And he's consistently said it doesn't exist. It's gone. Now, the janitor sweeping up the floor, if he, came across that footage and then, tucked it away thinking one day, ooh, I'm going to sell this, maybe. But as far as I know, everything that I've ever read, there's nothing to add to this movie. It's dead. What you see on the film's release, that's what you get. At that time, they weren't doing the Blu-rays, obviously, when that movie came out. I don't even think DVDs were around when that movie came out. I'd have to check on that.
Yeah.
So the expectation of keeping all of this extra material for outtakes and bonus features and all that just didn't happen at the time. So a lot of that stuff was just tossed in the trash. And
yeah, they figured it was kind of set in stone.
Yeah. So unless you had a really major movie like Aliens or
or someone like Cameron who would keep that footage,
right,
guard it.
Spielberg kept a lot of those
right.
outtakes and a lot of that stuff. Lucas,
that's pull.
Kept a lot of that extra
that's
stuff.
Pull that you get when you're a top level director. You say, hey, I want to keep all this stuff.
Right, and Anderson, from what I understand, all of that was just tossed. So the likelihood that there's going to be anything extra, God bless them if they can do it. God bless them if they can find anything. I would love. There's been several scenes that they've talked about that were a bit, probably not risque today, but at the time, kind of pushed the boundaries of rated R into an NC-17, and that they had filmed. All the actors have talked about these scenes. All the actors have said,
it's supposed to be pretty wild. The stuff that they cut and left off.
Yeah, it's dark.
It's mythical. Dark. It's mythical in the whatever, the how weird it is and how gory it is.
Right.
And and I mean the film is pretty wild anyway. Yeah. And so to think that there's some wilder stuff out there makes you kind of do this sort of thing. But yeah, Paul Anderson has been very consistent about I don't know where this footage is. It's most likely it's gone.
Yeah,
but you never know.
Everything I've read, everything as far as he is concerned, as far as he knows, there's nothing to be had. So if they do find something, if they do have something that they can share, that they can edit in or change it up a bit, by God, thumbs up. But I'm not holding my breath.
Hello to Maxine, who chimed in there a second.
Hi, Maxine.
It's cool to have you here. Very awesome.
Is this like an anniversary of the film or something? Is that? I guess I'm just sort of surprised that they would choose to release something now.
Shout Factory. I think there's and I don't know for a fact. I haven't done any research into it, but they're kind of an independent film distributor. So a lot of these movies, once the studio has their fill, they get their movies out there and whatnot. They just kind of wash their hands so that they can kind of clear out the clutter and move on to the more current fare and whatnot. And I believe Shout Factory picks up a lot of this older stuff, a lot of stuff that's maybe not under copyright anymore by the particular studio, so that they can go back, clean it up. A lot of cult classics. They pick up a lot of cult classics and whatnot. And so, yeah, they'll go back and they'll research and they'll find, the original negatives that were used, and they'll recreate the film from there, or they'll take it and they'll clean up all the scratches and maybe split the audio track, so you've got that 5-point surround sound and what have you. And they do a lot of work on particular films, but they do some fantastic stuff that I own. And so if they've got something that they can put forth, I'm all in. I hope their efforts do not go unrewarded. The original G.I. Joe and Transformers series. Amen.
Again, it's that mythic sort of lost footage, and the fact that Event Horizon is a pretty good movie as it is, especially for the time that it was released, and that it's kind of a small budget film. And Anderson, say what you will about Anderson does have a good visual style.
Yes, he does.
And he really brought it out in that film. If you haven't seen it, it's worth a look, and it would be even better in 4K. So I think that a lot of people would like to see it like that. And if they could get some extra footage in there, that would be really, really cool. But I mean, in a lot of cases, because old films that were on celluloid they're dying. We're lucky to just get new versions of these films on Blu-ray, to be honest. So we should, I guess, be thankful for that.
I own all of Batman 66 on Blu-ray.
Jealous.
Why is the old Batman series not streaming somewhere?
That's a fantastic question.
I would love to watch those.
Yeah,
I don't want to spend
why.
$150 for the Blu-ray package.
Oh, I don't think you have to. I don't think they're that expensive anymore. I think Walmart carries them for like $10 or $15 a piece now. Although I guess they maybe DVDs, not Blu-rays.
Like per season or whatever? Or
Yeah. Yeah, but for a long time, there was a rights dispute that Warner owned Batman and Fox owned the TV show.
Oh.
So that's why it took until 2016 to finally get those released for home viewing.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to watch those things all the time, and I think that there's a local channel that does show those like every Saturday night or something. They show one episode, if you want to watch them one at a time. But I mean, now everyone wants to stream them and binge on those. Walt says it's about $39 for the DVD box set.
There you go.
The Blu-ray is $125.
There you go.
For the
Batman
series. DVD is.
Oh, wait a minute. Walt says IFC has Batman.
Oh.
Walt is on it.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you, Walt. Very cool. MeTV is exactly what I was trying to think of, Mike. That's right on target. Yep. If you have MeTV is kind of like it broadcasts to your local on-air television stations.
Oh, can I get that on a HD antenna?
Yes, you can.
Because I'm about to buy an HD antenna.
It's time to do it. There's actually quite a bit of stuff out there if you don't know.
MeTV, I think, is a callback to the old UHF channels.
Yeah, for cool. Sure. For sure. All right, now it is time for Taskforce Geek viewer mail. And once again, we have a letter from Pump. It begins again with esteemed host. He has a hot take here, which is difficult to describe. He lists Scott instead of as Scott Prime as Scott Griswold.
Vacation.
Because of his vacation.
Oh. Okay.
He says it was great to see Walt return and share his perspective on today's most pressing geek issues. Also, seeing Mr. Kennedy's appearance to discuss his career arc as a working artist was quite interesting. With respect to the unjust demise of Planet Comics, I felt a mixture of sadness and anger. With the advent of Amazon's distribution of similar titles being the precedent for expunging the owners, the bittersweet irony was not lost. The death knell of many bookstores somehow came through, though not by any grace on their part, and saved the day for Mr. Kennedy. I guess my question for I think he's saying the boys this week is pretty simple. How would the events that led to Planet Comics' ultimate end be different now in the age of digital and social media, or would it? Anyone got a take on that?
I think there'd probably be even more rumors and more people, though, also sticking up. You'd have a lot more support now. I mean, They could have easily run. I mean, a Kickstarter campaign. Are you kidding me? They could have had their all of their legal fees paid for by people. I mean, other comic book store owners and people who want to fight against censorship and against an out of control district attorney who should have who should have. The light of day would have made him scurry for darker corners. And I think people in general are, even though we're in Oklahoma where it's fairly conservative, I still think we're a lot more liberal now than we were, 20 some years ago. So.
Oh yeah, that's true too. Yeah. Oklahoma City is, a shade more progressive than it was. still, it's still Oklahoma City, but
we have more cannabis dispensaries per capita than a majority of the states.
That is a true statement that Shawn just made. If you look at America, Moore and Norman, see, like Scott lives in Moore, per capita is number 7 and 8 on the most dispensaries per person. So there is that.
I like the idea of Oklahoma changing its slogan to 10 joints per person.
I like that too. I'd like to have that on our bumper stickers.
In a 1 mile.
Amy says a green shade. I said it was a shade different. And she says a green shade, and that's so true. We are into the weed around here, man. There's no doubt about that.
In a 1 mile strip. Dirk and I counted 9. I
believe it. Were you on Northwest Expressway?
No, Southwestern.
No, this is on Southwestern.
Yeah,
south of I-240. I call it the Green Mile.
There's a dispensary next door. There's another dispensary. Across from them is a dispensary, and behind their building is a dispensary. I mean,
they have dispensaries next door to each other. Literally.
I don't think we have that many people in this state that smoke that much.
There's going to be like a marketing campaign like Baskin Robbins, like 31 flavors.
We got it. We're on it. I promise you that we are the innovators around here. I mean, with all this competition, you got to distinguish yourself somehow. So,
Integrity Farms.
Yes. Sean Murphy says, "Where's my 10?"
It's just down the street, bud.
They're coming in the mail. I don't speak for Oklahoma, but I speak for Oklahoma.
There you go.
To wrap up with viewer mail, he says, "Godspeed, you heralded bunch of derelict dreamers." Pump. And P.S. I am holding the entire panel accountable for an upcoming episode of Saturday Morning Memories. He wants them Saturday Morning Memories. Look, if we do that, we really have to have Walt on here. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, that seems like a great idea.
Yeah, I think that's a big hit, is to talk about that.
Saturday or Sunday, we just watched a truckload of...
oh, dude. Yes, we did.
Rock.
That's almost embarrassing. We did that for 3 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours.
Watch the entire 70s. We didn't get into the 90s. We didn't get into the 2000s.
We did not. But I mean, we watched a lot of Schoolhouse Rock.
How can you
tell
know?
us all about how bills become laws now?
I mean, Look, yes, exactly. And it's amazing how those songs are in my long-term memory. I can't remember important things like math equations and stuff, but man, I can remember all those crazy songs and all that. I don't know. It's still pretty good stuff. I'm surprised that it's.
What was it? Just a few years ago, the voice of the iconic conductor from Conjunction Junction died.
Right. Oh, yes. That's a good call because I looked that up. That guy died 2 years ago. He was intimately involved in all of those early episodes. It was him and one other woman who did most of the singing for those episodes and also did a lot of the writing for that too.
Didn't they win a Grammy or something?
Oh gosh, they should. I mean, they must have won a Grammy for that sort of stuff.
I was thinking there was one particular episode that the woman she wrote the song and sang it. That I want to say either they won a Grammy or they were nominated for a Grammy or something like that.
Walt's talking about 3 as a magic number. See, he's on top of this. Just like we watched this for 3 hours, folks. For real.
I own them. I have them all on DVD somewhere.
3 is a magic number. It was also a plot point for the book Ready Player One.
Yes, it certainly was. That if you lived in the 70s or 80s, Ready Player One is full of that stuff. Conjunction Junction. What's your function?
What is your function?
Yeah. They're on Disney Plus. That's where we watched it. Yeah.
It was your shout out, Walt, the other day.
Right. Yeah, you're the one who caused this. You took 3 hours of our time on Saturday. All right, so we are officially going. What were you going to say, buddy?
I was going to say, and thank you for that.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, it was goofy to sit there and consume those, but I mean, extremely nostalgic, and it made me laugh. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, it was pretty awesome. I think. Sean says it's just a bill, not quite a law. See, everyone remembers this stupid stuff. Okay, we are officially in. What are you watching or reading or playing right now? And since Scott wasn't here last week, I'll go to him.
All right. I'm not watching anything. I haven't read anything lately, but I did go to Florida, and on the way down, I had to stop at almost every comic shop that was open and allowed us in. So I did find some gems that I am planning on reading this week, and I have them for you.
Oh my gosh, we're doing show and tell. I'm so excited.
Yes.
I always
He's
try to
the
do
best
show and
about
tell.
this. Yeah, he's good about this.
So these are some gems from my childhood, like right when I started buying and collecting comics that I probably seen but then forgot, because I sure forgot about the A-Team comic.
Oh my gosh.
And when I came into a shop that had, man, it's...
Go ahead with the thing, man.
No. If we're going to do this right, it was done by...
I got to know who drew it.
I love that Marvel Comics from this generation, the first, like whenever they had a special property, the cover of the first issue is always like, it's a collector's item.
Oh, exactly. Of course it is.
Which usually tells you it's not going to be a collector's item.
Exactly.
Jim Scallup wrote it. Marie Severin co-plotted and penciled and colored it with art direction by John Romita Sr. So
interesting. Okay.
I got A-Team #1 at the same shop that I found A-Team #2 in less quality condition in the dollar box. So that was a must-have. One of the comics that I've always wanted from my childhood back when this was probably about 87, if I could guess. I'll look in here really quick. Looks like 86 or so. Alf had a comic out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Or maybe this is 88. I can't really, with my big giant glasses, I can't see too far in the future here. 1988. Alf had a comic which I never cared about because the show was just goofy and stupid. But they had a crossover at the time for all the Marvel annuals, which was the Evolutionary War. So it was a big gimmick to get you to buy every comic annual so you could continue to read the story about the High Evolutionary attacking the Marvel Universe. Well, Alf had one that had the tag Evolutionary War up here on it. And I remember wanting to buy it, but it was so expensive and I didn't have the extra $1.75 back in the day. That I had to pass on it. And I've never seen it since, and it actually has never really crossed my mind again until I saw it at the same shop that I found the A-Team 1 and 2. And they had this, and I picked it up for $3, and it's in great condition. And I was happy to say that it wasn't just a gimmick on the cover, that in the last 2 pages there is a slight story where Alf meets the High Evolutionary, and they have a discussion about life. Some of you older folks might remember, and I only have one more after this. There was a comic by Dark Horse Comics before they got all these aliens and Marvel, Star Wars properties and stuff like this.
Right.
Boris the Bear. About the time I was reading comics, like it wasn't too long before that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle started and all these fluffy animal comics. And Boris the Bear was one of them that I just picked up on a whim back in the day, and I was really proud to find this. It still has pretty decent art and story for it. This one basically is a Batman crossover, but they call him Bat Guy. So it's actually up your alley there, Joe. And what I found the most interesting is this is 1986, and it has a pinup in the back by Rob Liefeld.
And
my gosh.
It's got hands. Can you lift it up? Does it have feet?
It has hands and feet.
It's proportional.
It's proportional, and there's not a lot of crazy lines. So what I'm telling you is if you do not like Rob Liefeld's artwork, he does still have the foundations of a good artist deep down somewhere under all the scratches.
Man, look at
Very
Scott
deep
representing
within
for
his
Rob
soul.
Liefeld.
There you go. There's times I really like his artwork, but I know, you know how he is. He gave me a free sketch at a con, and I could never.
Dude, is that
thank
all it
him
takes
enough.
to buy your loyalty? Is a free sketch?
Yeah, pretty much.
At least you're honest with yourself.
And then the real gem that I found at a different comic shop in Florida, and I only found it because we were there waiting for my glasses. This is a giant superhero holiday grab bag. It's a big magazine size. I've always wanted one of these just to want one. I don't really have a purpose for it. It had a cover price of $150 back in 1976, and I picked this thing up for $6. So it's probably worth $5, but it's in excellent condition. And I'm assuming this is all reprints. Looking at the credits and stuff, it gives old trademarks from 1967 and 1968 and stuff like that. So I'm assuming these are old Christmassy type stories that they pulled and made them big for this giant superhero holiday grab bag number 13. And it also is a collector's issue. That's why, 45 years later, it was only worth, $5-6. So
$5.
there you go.
That's
So
good
those
stuff.
are my gems that I'm looking forward to reading. Obviously, I just haven't read because I've been traveling the
You've
world.
been on the road, man.
Right, and looking for glasses and other artifacts in the ocean. So
It's good stuff.
there you go, fellas.
All right, Joe and Megan.
You want to go first?
Sure. So I have been going back through and reading the Amanda Conner run of Harley Quinn, which is just fantastic. I was kind of late to the game picking it up. Joe had been raving about it for a long time, so he bought me the complete volume set of it. It's a giant encyclopedia size of comic, but it's been awesome. So I've been really enjoying that. We've also been picking up the new Buffy series, of course. How could I not? It's been okay. The Angel reboot, I think, is probably a little stronger, but I'm a diehard Buffy fan, so I'm not going to shy away from it, even if it's sometimes a struggle to get through. And the Birds of Prey is starting out again with Amanda Conner is on that. So we've been reading that one, which is also a lot of fun. And Suicide Squad has been a blast.
Suicide Squad's surprisingly been really good.
Yeah, that's like a top 5 book for me right now.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, the art, the comic, I don't know. I love it.
I mean, I remember Joe contacting me on Facebook going like, is it really okay? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead and spend your money.
Yeah, so the writer for that is the same guy that does whatever the comic that was based off of the video games, Injustice.
Okay, Injustice, yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Kendall raves about that guy all the time, that he just had this really good ability to world build. So when I found out it was the same guy, I was a lot more confident, although the first 2 issues did a lot to sell me on that series.
I agree.
Yeah, cool.
And then you're watching Gilmore Girls.
Oh, yeah. Nobody wants to hear about that.
Hey.
We'll pretend like that's not happening.
Nothing wrong with the Gilmore Girls. I am in love with the mom character on there, not the old lady, the one that's
Lorelai.
Yeah.
Lorelai. Oh my gosh, that woman melts my heart.
Wow.
She does.
We're learning a lot today.
And she's in Bad Santa, and like I watched that movie and I was like, I need to just put this movie up and not watch this anymore.
Holy cats.
She gets me.
Joe, did you have something else you wanted to cover?
Sure. So I just finished reading, very late to the game, Brubaker and Epting's Velvet.
Oh, okay.
So just in case people aren't familiar with that, the premise is, what if Moneypenny from James Bond was actually the best spy? And it was a lot of fun. It's only like 15 issues, the whole series. So that was a read that I just got through. And then I've also been reading through, again, another blast from the not so distant past, I guess. The Marvel noir stuff. So noir Spider-Man and Luke Cage and Punisher, Daredevil, and Iron Man.
Okay.
Now, do you do the Nicolas Cage voice when you're reading Noir Spider-Man?
I haven't noticed if I am, but I do love me some Nicolas Cage Spider-Man noir. And then as far as, I haven't really been watching anything. As far as what I'm playing, I bought and then immediately had to stop playing Cultist Simulator. Which
explain.
So you start a cult, and that's all I know about the game.
Is this on computer?
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was getting really frustrated the other day. He's like, I just can't seem to get my cultists to do what I want them to do. And I was like, this is the weirdest conversation I think we've had.
I didn't know how to do cultists. I still don't know how to win the game.
You have to have young women to start a cult. That's the first key.
And if Tiger King teaches us anything, I need to have animals.
Cats. Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
Draws the women.
But yeah, you start a cult and you win somehow, and most of the time you die.
Wow.
I might need to look into this.
Yeah. I literally have spent 20 hours playing this game. I don't know if I'm anywhere near winning.
Back in the day, there was a game, and you guys might be young enough to remember. It's called Seaman for the Sega Dreamcast. Does anybody remember this game?
No.
Okay. Dirk, you don't remember this? We had a friend named James who had this game, and they were like little fish.
What does it do?
It was called Seaman, and they were like these little fish guys with human faces. Do you remember this?
I'm sorry. I do remember it now.
And I had like a social experiment. It was like a Tamagotchi where you took care of your animal and stuff, but you could pick up your little fish. And I was always mean to like one fish by thumping him and doing stuff. And the social experiment was to see like what would happen. And he became super aggressive. And I don't know. And he'd come up to the screen and go, "Arr," and all this stuff.
My gosh.
It was amazing. And I don't know how you ever won or lost the game, but that was what I did. And it really pissed our friend James off a lot. So I continue to do that.
Nice.
Nice. I like the idea that you were raising deep ones and you're just like messing with them constantly.
Just one. I was nice to all the other ones.
Oh, that's
I
even
think-
worse.
It is worse. It's awful.
I think Walt wants to see the cult game on Twitch, which is actually a great idea. That would probably get some interested viewers.
5 minutes in, people would be like, "What? What is happening?"
Sean, what is the YouTube series that you watch where the guy gets a game and purposely tries to break it?
Oh, it's called Let's Play It Out.
Right.
And yeah,
that is a great series on YouTube, by the way, if you're into video games.
The gentleman they send, usually they're like a beta
like independent
test
games
game, and they'll send it to him to do a review, and he's like, "Oh, you silly people." And then he does everything possible to wreck the game, or at least push it as far as it can go. And he does some.
It's hilarious
Oh,
what this guy goes through. It's difficult to describe, but
yeah,
I mean, he does everything you're not supposed to do.
And it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. I've actually looked at a few of the games that he's done this to and thought, I think I'm going to buy those and do that myself. See how far I can push that. But yeah, it's a great show. Let's Game It Out, I believe is the title of it.
Walt wants to know if we've ever watched the Pacifist Grand Theft Auto on YouTube. I suppose it's similar. Anyone?
No.
I've heard of it. I've heard of Pacifist runs through Grand Theft Auto, but I've never watched any of them.
That's got to be difficult.
How would you do anything?
Well, some of those, especially in some of them where like the whole mission is you have to kill this thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some rules or something.
They say in the new Cyberpunk game that you can go through it and not kill anyone.
Love it.
That's neat.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool too. So you can completely choose your, however you're going to solve these issues.
I am not going to play it that way. Everyone will die.
Yeah, man. I want all those weird guns and stuff they have on there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Sean, you are an old white male.
It's
wow.
This is how these games are the reason why I don't go outside and kill people. I mean, honestly, I work it all out here.
Cut his mic.
This is my therapy, so that everybody is safe outside.
All right, buddy. Since the spotlight is on you, tell us what you're watching or reading or playing right now.
Just the other day, I don't know why I did it, but I did. I watched 1978's Convoy with Chris Christopherson, and
yes, you did.
Oh God, I love that movie. It's really a good movie. It's not for everybody, but it is for me. Beyond that, I haven't really much like Scott. I don't.
You should mention who directed that movie.
That is a Sam Peckinpah film. That is one of his later films, if I remember right.
It was his second to last film.
There you go. Before he died, and that is, if you know nothing else about Sam Peckinpah, he is a phenomenal storyteller. You can give him just the weirdest, Convoy, for example, stories, and he can make it an interesting film through his visual style and what have you. He's one of the best classic directors I've ever watched. I truly enjoy his work. Don't watch a whole lot, or I haven't been watching a whole lot lately.
Mike Kennedy watched Convoy a week ago. How obtuse.
That movie was awesome. I really don't watch a whole lot of TV otherwise, other than I got caught up on what is that knife show?
Forged in Fire.
Forged in Fire. Jeez, my mind is gone today. I got caught up on Forged in Fire, and I love that show. I love
all
that
those
show.
visits to the weed shop, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
If only.
Too many trips to the Green Mile.
If only.
Per capita, we're pretty high up there.
We're inadvertently advertising for a real shop probably called the Green Mile.
Oh yeah, I thought it would be a great idea to actually market that to that area and see if we could get everyone on board. But Walt is chiming in. He bought Convoy for $5. I mean, come on, are you kidding? So Mike Kennedy and Walt Thompson both have a Convoy story.
It's a good show. It's a good
hilarious.
As far as reading, I dropped probably way more money than I should have on Comixology, and they were having a pretty decent sale. So I picked up a handful of books. One was called Middle West by Scotty Young and Jorge Corona. Excellent book. Another one is Golgo 13 by Takao Saito. If you like
I remember that video game.
If you like James Bond style movies and what have you, Golgo is a very adult style, much in the James Bond ish genre. The also picked up 47 Ronin, illustrated by the great Stan Sakai. And I picked up a European book called Glorious Summers, which is it's a drama, which in and of itself is kind of odd that I would have picked it up, because that's not normally what I would read. But the artist, Jordi Lefebvre, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, absolutely beautiful artwork in this book. It's about a family who, coincidentally to Scott, goes on various vacations, and they're dealing with real life issues, and then dealing with their families and whatnot. Not really my cup of tea story wise, but visually, absolutely beautiful artwork. Admittedly, there is some mature themes to it, some mature language, but if you're just looking for some beautiful books, absolutely gorgeous. And that's pretty much where I've been.
All right, I'm going to do a shout out here to Sean Sexton. I control the stuff that we put up on here, and you just asked a question. We're over 2 hours right now. You just asked a question that would carry us over for another 30 minutes. So maybe I'll ask the group.
We'll do it next time.
Maybe do it next time. But that's definitely not a subject that's going to be a quick read from us. All right. So as far as what I've been reading or whatever, I'm going to talk about a real novel that I've been reading. A little while ago, I know. A little while ago, I asked some of the people who were following me if they knew an author who had some poetry in their prose, someone who knew how to kind of write with flowery language or whatever, because that's kind of the sort of stuff that I like. And someone suggested to me Tanith Lee. So I picked up a book called Electric Forest. And it's about a woman who is ugly. Matter of fact, they call her ugly. And she gets downloaded into the body of a beautiful woman. Now that sounds a lot like Avatar, but you have to remember this was written back in the 70s. As far as the story is very interesting, and as far as the way that Tanith Lee writes, she's exactly what I was looking for. Her descriptions are really, really good and real engrossing, I think, and really kind of puts you in that moment. I've really enjoyed what I've read so far. I'm about halfway through that book, so that's what I'm actually reading right now. I enjoy it quite a bit. So shout out to Tanith Lee or fans of Tanith Lee. Mostly she is known for fantasy stuff, and for some reason I just liked the idea of this science fiction novel that she wrote, and so far that has been a good pick. All right, so we are now in promo time. So first off, we're going to go to our guests, which is Joe and Megan.
Buy your book.
So tell us where to find all your stuffs.
Sure. So Innsmouth Beneath the Surface is currently available for digital download on Amazon. You can read on any Kindle app you have.
There's the link to it.
Yep, the link is there. I do plan on having paperback options coming soon, hopefully within the next week or so.
But the digital copy is like $3.
Yeah, I mean it's not a big investment, but I
bought it
out there.
Hey, everyone, go out there and see if we can move that up the charts. Let's see if we can get the whole Taskforce Geek followers and fans to go buy it like in the next $3, folks. Go buy it in the next couple of days and see if we can move her up the charts. Your $3 could make a big difference. No kidding. Seriously. Go out there and give it a try.
I bought it this weekend, so I'm looking forward to
Whoa,
reading.
yeah! Now we just have to hope it's good.
Yeah, well, that's the second part. Hopefully, if you like it enough, please leave some reviews. I haven't gotten any quite yet, but that would help.
Oh, yeah. We'll get you some reviews too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, folks, you got to review these books. What is wrong with people? That is the bread and butter on these books. You have to review it. People will not buy a book that's not reviewed. Yep. So, I mean, and it costs you 5 minutes of your time to help out someone who is an author that you like to read. Get out there right now. Go buy that book, A, and then B, leave a review that's really awesome.
Yep. So that's mine.
Yeah, I like that. I like this. I feel good about it.
I feel like I didn't do very much for that, so it's great.
And then if you would like to listen to me and my friend Kendall try to wax philosophical about different aspects of the Batman mythos, go check us out at 27th Letter Productions. Wayne Manor Memoirs is the name of the podcast, and you can find it on, as far as I'm aware, every podcast app. And we are also on Spotify.
Yeah, good stuff. Who's next? Let's go to Scott.
You can find me over at Both Down. I don't have much to promote right now. But what I do want to do is I want you to take it back to Joe, because we've talked a lot about all the pot stores in Oklahoma. I've taken Joe out to eat at a Mexican food place, and only he can describe it. Joe.
Wow, we're gonna get a bonus story here.
Uh-oh.
So when I went down to visit Scott in Oklahoma, he told me that he had to take me to this Mexican restaurant because in Oklahoma, or I don't know if it's even just this special Mexican restaurant.
No, it's everywhere around here.
Okay, so the status quo is that you sit down, you get unlimited chips. They bring you a bunch of different salsas and queso and guac, and it's all complimentary. And then at the end, they bring you some delicious fried dessert, right?
Yeah.
That's
the way we do it.
A sopapilla.
Yeah, and I'd never experienced this anywhere else.
They brought cheese down. They brought salsas, and we asked for like corn relish and other things. And he's like, "This is all free? Oh my god!"
Yeah,
and he was just going nuts.
Like this was the if anyone was ever going to convince me to move to Oklahoma, that was it.
There you go.
We do Mexican food right around here.
Bring Tex-Mex and all the pot you want. And I don't even smoke pot. Yeah, but I do eat Mexican food.
What else do you need? What else do you need?
Clearly not much.
Yeah, I mean,
enough dips for all the chips you want to eat.
And I mean, 10 joints per person. Let's do it.
See?
Let me just say that my grandfather, he from California. He came down to visit. We took him to a local Mexican restaurant, and he became completely enamored. Now you would think California, there's got to be just a ton of really good Mexican restaurants, and I have to tell you, no. No. Oklahoma. I don't know so much about Texas. Oklahoma absolutely blew his socks off. And anytime he came to this state, he would stay for months, like 2 or 3 months. And I swear to God, every other day we'd eat at some Mexican restaurant because he had to have Oklahoma Mexican food.
Yep.
Yep, I was a big fan.
I like
Sorry,
it.
I had to bring that up. So
I think that's good. Who hasn't gone yet, Sean? I think that's you, buddy.
The only thing I got to promote is the website. I'm still plugging away at. It's coming along great, I think. I'm very impressed with myself, being it's the first one I've ever done, and it's starting to look like an actual functioning website. So please feel free to visit and drop us a line and let us know what you think of it.
Sean's bringing up a restaurant. I'm trying to think about what he's talking about. A restaurant on 29th. Anyone?
Casino.
Is it Casino Domino's?
Maybe something like that.
29th and what?
It was South Oklahoma City. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
29th.
Like on Shields.
There's
in that area.
There was a Casino Domino.
They used to fry their chicken fajitas in Tecate, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Sean says yes. And they did the same thing. And that was back in the day. That place was run like military service. I mean, they had the people who were bussing their tables. They come one right after another. Once you cleared out one of those cheese bowls, they had another one. They had some more chips for you. They were, back in the old days, Casino Domino's was on it. And they're still pretty good. Not as good as they used to be. I guess, let's see. That leaves it up to me unless anyone has anything else they want to talk about.
Take us home, brother.
All right. That's it, folks. You can email us at taskforcegeek@gmail.com. There is our YouTube channel once again. And again, I want to say that our homepage is rankingstudios.com. I want to mention that we're looking for guests for Task Force Geek. If you're interested, please contact me at taskforcegeek@gmail.com. If you have something to promote, even better, we will promote you. We will push your stuff.
It's true, they will.
See, we just proved it. Visit us on the Quora Task Force Geek space or our home on Ranking Studios. I got that up right there. Thanks, everyone, for watching this. Please leave a like or share wherever you see it. It makes a huge difference. It really does, folks. Help us out a little bit. For Sean, Scott, Joe, and Megan, this is Dirk Hooper saying dream hard.